Okay, I have 6 o'clock.
All right.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Monday, April 13th, 2020 City Council meeting of the City of Dexter. We are doing this meeting via the Zoom platform again. As a reminder to the audience and anyone listening in, you are all muted at this time with the exception of council members and our city manager, Courtney Nichols. If you wish to speak when we get down to the non-arranged participation portions of the agenda, our host, which is Justin, our city clerk, will unmute you as you raise your hand. There's a raise your hand feature on the participants box of the meeting platform. And if you're calling in and have joined us by phone, you can, I believe, hit *9, and that will also show a little hand symbol for you. So we're learning as we go here, but let's get the meeting started. Justin, if you could put the flag up so we could do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay, if everybody could stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Justin. If you could please call the roll, I would appreciate it.
All right. Councilmember Bell.
Present.
Cousins.
Virtually here.
Fisher.
Yes.
Knight.
Here.
Michelle's.
Present.
Smith.
Here.
And I am here as well.
Oh, and Mayor Keough. And our two student reps, Andrew Covert, and I'm thinking Bella is Isabella Malik.
Yeah. I'm here. Sorry, my name's all messed up.
That's right.
Great. Great. Okay. We are down to item C, which is approval of the meeting minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve: the special city council meeting on March 18th and the regular city council meeting on the 23rd. I see a hand up by Councilmember Smith.
Move to approve both sets of council minutes.
And I'll second.
Motion by Smith and second by Knight. Thank you both. Mr. Smith, any corrections this evening?
I have no corrections tonight.
Ms. Knight, any comments?
No comments.
Okay. Any other members of council have any corrections or comments on the meeting minutes? Seeing no blue hands on the screen, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. We have approved the meeting minutes. We have no prearranged participation this evening, so that brings us down to approval of the agenda. Item E.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Bell,
I'll second.
second by Fisher. Thank you both. Any discussion on the agenda this evening?
No.
Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Very much. We have no public hearings under item F tonight. However, so we'll move on to page 2 of the agenda. At the top of page 2 is our non-arranged participation portion of the agenda. This is the first of 2 locations on the agenda for the public or anyone to speak about any topic on or off the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak this evening? Okay, I see two hands. We'll start with the one called Ron Miller, please.
Hey, it's Cole, 7654 Forest Street.
Hi, Cole.
I was just wondering if there was anything that could be done, if we could send out a letter or something to all the registered voters to refresh them on the procedures for registering as an absentee, just getting ahead of trying to eliminate as much in-person voting as possible kind of preemptively this year. That's it.
Thank you, Cole. Appreciate the comment. Next up is Chris Knight.
Hey, Sean, can you hear me?
I can. Chris, can everyone else hear Chris?
Hey, thank you for allowing me the time to speak. Chris Knight with Utilities Instrumentation Service. We are on the agenda tonight to have site plan approval. We would like to request this be postponed for 2 weeks as one of the issues with our site plan was zoning compliance, as there is a public utility easement on our property. We were trying to figure out the best way of getting removed. And as we've been continuing to do some research this week and last week, thought there's some different ways of doing this, and we'd like some additional time to work with the city to figure out the best, easiest, quickest way of doing that. And that's the only comment I have right now.
Okay, so thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I don't see any other blue hands. Justin, am I missing anybody?
I don't see any.
Okay, well, thank you for those two public comments. Chris, sit tight. We'll be down to new business in a little bit. Next up on the agenda is item H, communications. There were 5 communications in the packet. The upcoming meeting list, a letter from Comcast about maintaining service, the Michigan State Housing Development Authority letter regarding Hilltop View Apartments, a congratulatory distinguished budget award letter, and then a notice from Washtenaw County regarding the proposed Hilltop View Apartments, a notice of no finding. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the 5 communications? I will note that there is going to be a DAFD meeting on our meetings list. That'll take place Thursday night at 6 o'clock. I think that was omitted on this one.
Yeah, we kind of took everything off except for what we do, just because we didn't know what everybody else was doing or where they'd be.
Correct. We just figured out today that there's a meeting. So if anybody is interested in joining us, 6 o'clock, the city's going to be loaning our Zoom platform. Justin's going to be hosting, and there will be a DAFD meeting here in April. I don't see any hands or hear any comments, so I'm going to move on to our first report tonight and ask our Public Services Superintendent, Dan, to give it, please.
Good evening, Council.
Dan?
I have a pretty large report, written report in your packet. It's 3 weeks. I think the Water, Wastewater, and Department of Public Works is doing a really good job with the staffing requirements that we're under currently. Some of the things that's been going on is obviously a lot of leaves, a lot of brush, a lot of wind, which I'm sure we're going to have more brush this week with the conditions we have today. One thing we noticed at the wastewater treatment plant is our phosphorus and our BOD loading is down. So the staff down there started lowering the chemicals to save a little bit of money. We don't want to keep treating the water if them are going to go down. So we're saving a little money and a little energy on that. The staff is doing real well. They're all healthy, happy. Hoping by the end of this month, maybe we can resume back to regular staffing. Do you have any questions on my report?
Doesn't look like it, Dan. I want to say I appreciate all the work that you and your team are doing to maintain the services for all of us. I think Kurt came around about 6:30 to pick up my leaves this past Thursday, and
Yeah.
That's a long day, so
Right.
I'm speaking on behalf of all of us on council, but we appreciate everything you're doing to keep those services visible. So thank you.
Well, I will pass that on to our employees. I know they'd really appreciate that coming from the mayor and council. Thank you.
Dan, you and I have had this conversation about the work here on the sidewalks and the netting that they put down for grass.
Yep.
And, the grass is starting to grow through it now. I guess my question is if the folks aren't coming back, do we have the right to pull that up so that we can start to mow without threatening our lawnmowers and stuff like that or catching it in there? Or how do we do that?
Well, I'd really like to wait till the contractor comes back, because what that does is we ended up picking it up on Central Street because the residents had done that, but it adds additional work on a short staff that we're shorthanded as it is right now. We picked it up, but I would like the contractor to come back and do what they have to do. But if it's pulled up, I'm guessing that we'll be picking it up just like we did on Central Street last week.
I picked up a small piece and I just threw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
No. Well, like I said, we're trying to get it as much done as we possibly can, and if it's laying out there, we will pick it up if somebody wanted to pull it up, I guess. Because that's what happened last week on Central Street.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for Dan?
Can I add something real quick, Sean? I mean,
Sure.
We've had meetings on all of the projects, forestry, the path, Grand Street, Central Street. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now, waiting. I'm guessing to the end of the month at least before we can get anybody back here to do punch list items, the restoration, or any of that. Tomorrow I do have a meeting on the trail, but that's kind of where we're at with all these projects right now. As we're waiting until the restrictions are lifted, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that, for keeping us updated on that, Dan. Okay, next up is our Community Development Manager, Michelle. Good evening.
Sorry about that. I had to unmute myself. I can't assume you can hear me. So, good evening, Council. How is everyone tonight?
Good. How are you, Michelle?
Excellent. Thank you. Got to keep some things consistent. So, you have my 2-week report in front of you. Before I go into any updates, do you have any questions for me?
I do, Michelle. Item 2 on the Encore Theater, there was a number of listings of concerns with the last meeting, and I understand that Dan Cooney has sent a letter. Have you received that letter in response to some of those answers?
Yes, Paul, I did receive a letter from Dan today, and I did speak with him. I had hoped and had reached out last week to his attorney to try and set up a meeting to go over all of the Planning Commission's concerns. I was informed today that they're no longer working with their attorney, and so he just put together the letter based on my understanding is his recollection of the concerns that were raised at council. He's going to provide an additional document, which would be an aerial photo to show what parking spaces he's specifically thinking could be used that are currently on street improved along Ann Arbor Street. It will clear up a little bit more of the ambiguity that's in the narrative and with his revised submittal. I can't say if it addresses everything because I haven't had a chance to really go through it, but I have provided it to our consultants, planning, engineering, and city attorney, and have asked them to make themselves available tomorrow to do a Zoom meeting so we can go through them. And if there are any additional comments or direction we need to give Dan, we can do that quickly so he can, if he so chooses, then provide any revisions that might be needed. And that keeps them on track for the next PC meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I see Jim. Jim, did you have a question for me?
No?
Okay. All right. So as you can see, the Planning Commission did, excuse me, recommend approval of Hilltop View. They were very pleased with the revisions that the applicant made and the details that were provided. There was absolutely no question, and it was a unanimous recommendation. You should see that on your April 27th agenda. Let's see. The city continues to update all of the resources that are available to our small businesses as we continue to navigate this COVID-19 crisis. It's not been easy for the businesses, and we recognize that, and we'll continue to provide as much updated information as possible. I did get a really, really nice email from Lauren at Painted Trout thanking us for the assistance that we've been giving the businesses. Doug Marin also sent a really nice email complimenting the city on the work that we've been doing in keeping not just businesses but residents updated. So I think both of those are it's nice to know that we are getting, the work that we're doing is making a difference. I will tell you, although it's not in my my report, there is an updated forecast coming out of U of M's research seminar in quantitative research seminar in quantitative economics. I will send that out via email to you all tomorrow, and we'll continue to provide those updates as the big unknown right now is how is our economy doing and what is it going to look like when we come out of this. And I think their updates provide us with a little window and some hope. And I don't have anything else to add for you right now, but if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
I don't see any questions coming in, Michelle.
Thank you. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you. You as well. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Okay, next up in the packet is the written sheriff report. Are there any comments or questions on the sheriff report this month? Donna Fisher has her hand up, but she needs to be unmuted, please. Justin, can you unmute Donna Fisher, please? Thank
She
you.
has to then unmute herself too.
I just did, and that's why I put my hand up. Thank you.
Okay, you're back. Great.
I'm back. Abby stopped in. I'm sorry.
Okay, nothing to add on the sheriff report. Okay. Courtney, anything to add on report from the sheriff?
It's Paul again. I missed a meeting this morning, a Zoom meeting this morning with the chamber, because I had another meeting with Seriously this morning at the same time. But I know that they've been working with the city and also with the various businesses to try to come up with a way to inform people of those businesses that are open, the times and all of that, and provide maybe some other kind of activity that we can generate, keep those businesses alive and well. So I will find out more about that and see if I can have somebody from the chamber report to Michelle about what that discussion was this morning.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Any other comments on the sheriff report or any of the other meeting committees or meetings there? Okay, I'm going to move on to city manager report. Courtney, if you're ready, please.
I don't really have anything beyond what I put in the kind of coronavirus update memo. That's probably the most pressing things from my report. Some meetings are continuing, like I don't think I put it on here, but we will have a Middle Huron partnership meeting. I think it's tomorrow. So more things are starting to kind of continue with the online platforms as this continues. The sheriff hasn't had another conference call with the partners, which I take as a good sign, that he doesn't have a lot to report, which I think in this case is good news. The sheriff's office did switch to their 12-hour schedule starting today. So that's definitely a different staffing model for them. But that did start today. I mentioned in here we had gotten a request regarding backyard chickens, which council's discussed many times. I just wanted to let you know that somebody had brought that up. It was a new resident on Ann Arbor Street. And our census response is coming in well, which is good, despite the conditions.
Okay, how's staff morale?
I think it's okay. I mean, people are working from home. I think we're keeping up on everything. I took a bunch of water bill questions today, just helping people figure out the best way to pay, drop it off, that kind of thing. But I think everybody is okay.
Well, I want to extend the same thank you to you and the office staff that I mentioned to Dan and the field staff. I think you're keeping up with things quite well based upon the number of times we check in with each other and the stories you've told me. I think I really appreciate what everybody's doing, and it's a difficult time. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Does anybody have questions for Courtney? I see Paul's hand up.
Yeah, Courtney, I've had a couple of questions about the potential for the community garden. Has there been any discussion with the staff or with anybody related to that concept there? I guess.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good question, Paul. I kind of finished that up later last week after the packet went out. So I did talk to Avalon, and they were okay with an agreement that would allow us to keep using it until they needed it for construction. And then I did let Olga know that for now, I'd like her to advertise or send an email to the gardeners that have already been gardeners. And let's see the interest from them first before kind of offering it wider at this point. Just because they already know the routine, there might be some disruption because if they do start construction. So I just kind of want to gauge the interest there first. But we should be able to have, pending the restrictions being lifted so people can leave their houses. Hopefully we can open it close to on time.
Thank you.
But that is the plan. So you should be seeing something from Olga this week.
I'll pass that along. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Other questions for Courtney? Okay, I'll move down to my report. I'll try to keep it brief. I just wanted to say I wrote a little bit in my report about the visible services that the city is providing this week. And we had a little bit of, I guess, public feedback on one of the online sites about whether we should be maintaining our plants and our gardens and those types of things. And we do have a city worker, Judy, as she goes by. Everybody knows Judy, that takes care of the flowers and plants some flowers, and she works alone. And the goal is to have her keep doing some of that stuff and maintaining our areas, our planters. I think for one, it's real good for morale, and two, again, she's working alone. It's not like we have a company in there with multiple people working next to each other. So I know Dan and his team are going to keep, cutting the grass as the grass grows here in our parks. I just wanted to mention all that stuff. We're going to continue to pick up trash, empty the trash cans. I think it's real important during this difficult time that we maintain those public places and spaces. So if anybody has any concerns about how that's being done, maybe we can feel free to talk now or whatever, but, call us if you are. But for that reason, both aesthetic and health and safety, I think it's important that we keep those areas looking neat and accessible to people. So obviously people understand the requirement to maintain a physical separation and social distance, whatever phrase you want to use there, but we don't want to let things go to what. So I just wanted to touch on all that and ask for everybody's patience, as they perform those duties. So
I support that.
thank you. Appreciate that, Paul. This coming week, I mentioned that the Dexter Area Fire Department will be meeting at 6 o'clock in the evening. DDA is also going to have a meeting on Thursday morning. That's still planned. And then in a little over 2 weeks after our next council meeting, we'll be looking forward to our first budget review workshop. It's hard to believe that that's coming around. So we've got more of these planned as time goes on here. So anyway, I hope everybody had a good Easter, and we'll keep the meeting moving. Anybody have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, then next up, Mr. Cousins, you had your report in the packet again. Is there anything you want to say there?
Nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Just didn't want to forget that. Item J is the consent agenda. There's 3 items on the consent agenda. If somebody could, Ms. Fisher, your hand is up, please.
Excuse me. I move we approve the 3 items listed on the consent agenda. Bills and payroll in the amount of $666,776.20. I hope that's correct. This is a really tiny agenda that I'm
Close
reading.
enough.
The tax roll placements for delinquent utility bills, and the change in the Ann Arbor run, the date.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Ms. Fisher. Mr. Smith, you have your hand up?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, so second by Jim Smith. Thank you. Thank you both. Justin, if you could call the roll to approve the consent agenda, please.
All right. Councilmember Michelle's,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Keough.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. The consent agenda has been passed. Thank you all. We have no old business under item K this evening. We have 5 items of new business. The first one is consideration of the recommendation from Planning Commission to approve the final combined site plan for UIS. This is the item that Chris Knight requested be postponed 2 weeks. So if there's someone, Mrs. Fisher has her hand up.
I move we postpone the subject for 2 weeks, our next meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, and then seconded by Knight. Motion by Fisher, second by Knight. Thank you both. Just as background, or a little bit more background from what Chris mentioned, there's some uncertainty over whether the recorded plat that has been talked about with the easement that needs to be extinguished, whether that was actually ever recorded and whether that's legitimate or not. And given that we don't know the finality of that, we'd like to do a little bit of research. So I actually had a phone conversation with Mr. Knight today around 4:30, and in light of that news, we want to make sure that we know what we're actually voting on to extinguish. So that's the background behind it. And I think 2 weeks of getting parties together can clear that up, and this can be back on the April 27th agenda. So apologize for that short delay. I think everybody is certainly supportive of where UIS is trying to do here, and it did receive unanimous approval from the Planning Commission, but that's background on the request for postponement. So Ms. Fisher and Ms. Knight, I thank you both for your comments. I see Mr. Michelle's has his hand up. Zach, go ahead. The floor is yours.
So a process question. If the delay is because we're not sure if there's an actual public utility easement, couldn't we just change it, the condition to the applicant must terminate any existing public utility easement. And then if it's there, they still have to go the same process of extinguishing it, vacating it. And if it's not there, then they're approved and they're ready to go on.
Yeah, I suppose we can. I just think that there's more information here than to the story, Zach. I guess I'd kind of like to know what I need to know rather than guessing. But you're right. We could make that motion if people would prefer to go that route. I think the applicant was, after having the conversation with him, was amenable to just waiting 2 weeks, where we can still make that motion if that makes sense to him. It doesn't hurt him to wait the 2 weeks. Ms. Fisher?
That's the spirit in which I made the motion. If he requested that we postpone, I think as long as it isn't detrimental to either party, I think it's okay to wait the time.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on the
Does
postponement?
anybody have any other questions about it, just in case, so we could get those answered now, or know to have answers for them when it comes back? Just if anybody had anything they were going to ask, if it was going to get approved, we can address that, or be ready to address it.
No.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to postpone in a second. Justin, could you please call the vote?
Unmute myself. Councilmember Cousins,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisher,
Yes.
Smith,
He's muted.
Oh, he probably muted himself, and so we have to unmute him.
oh. There you go, Jim.
You can do him last.
All right. Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith, Mayor Keough,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure I heard
There he
from.
goes.
Did we
Justin,
hear
this
from
is
Jim?
Chief Smith. It looks like you got me unmuted, maybe not him.
oh,
No, Jim's okay now. He's good.
Okay, so do we hear from everybody, Justin?
yes.
Okay, so we have motion carries. Thank you. New business item L2 is a consideration of the recommendation from Planning Commission to adopt the 2020 to 2025 capital improvement plan. I see a hand is up by Mr. Smith.
Yes, I'll move to approve the resolution of adoption for the 2020-2025 capital improvement plan.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Smith. I do see a hand up by our treasurer, finance director, assessor Marie Sherry, but I don't think she's trying to make a motion. Can I have a second on the motion, please?
I'm not.
I'll second. This is Zach.
Second by Zach. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. So motion by Smith, second by Michelle's to approve the recommendation from Planning Commission. Should I turn this over to Michelle?
Yes.
I'm not sure if there's any comments that need to be made or not, or if anybody has any questions.
Oh, Michael, our assistant planner, is the one that paired and updated the document and took it through the Planning Commission. So if you have any specific questions, Michael would be the one to talk to. It's all laid out very clearly in the report, and it's a sound document.
And I know it takes a lot of work to pull it together, so thank you to both of you for that and for bringing it through the process.
He did the heavy lifting just like last year, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you both.
Okay, well, I don't see any hands up for any
Oops.
comments. Want to make sure I'm not missing
do.
any. Zach, I see your hand, and then I see a
Yep.
blue hand.
Yep, I will quickly run through my little questions there.
Okay.
So for on page 47, the extension of Jefford Street, I know we've talked that it's still in there because it's part of other plans, but we're aware that in order to make the DAPCO project work, that a street can't work there. So my request would be for future years that either we drop this or we change it to reconfiguration of Broad Street, because that seems to be the direction we're headed based on the viability of project there.
Makes sense.
On page 55, Mill Creek Phase 2, it looks, this is just a nitpicky thing, it looks like that's actually showing Mill Creek Phase, page 55, it talks about Mill Creek Trail Phase 3, but it looks like it's a trail, Phase 2 trail there. I don't know if we have a similar map for the Phase 3 section just yet. Let's see.
Good catch.
And page, I forget what page they are, but the master plan and economic development plan, I'm curious why that's still in there since we've just completed those, or is that a placeholder for identifying that in future years we're going to need to review those?
It's the second one.
Okay. And I do have questions on page 84 for the, let's see, I'm scrolling through here, the fire department. Let's see. And it was the rating numbers that came up. If someone could let me know how it only got a 2 for protecting health, safety, and lives of citizens, and similar for reducing energy consumption impact environment. I would have thought those were 3. I'm not arguing with them. I'm just curious how they ended up with 2s instead of 3s, if anyone knows.
I don't think this project had been updated for some time. Michelle, do you know when those scores were assigned?
They probably would have been assigned when it was originally put in. So we'd have to go back to look at that. Excuse me.
So 2011?
Would
And a
think so.
second. That was the fire department under, isn't that projects? And then 4.
4.05.
So yes,
Okay.
Paul, 2011 is probably when that jurisdiction or a project justification numbers were established. And like Mike said, they have not been looked at since then, primarily probably because it's council continues to move forward on it. If that's something that council would like amended, then now is the time to identify what that justification score should be.
Well, personally, I think at least the protect health, safety, and lives ought to be a 3. Since 2011, we've had a 4-story building built downtown that is best, if there were any sort of emergency there, be best addressed with a tower truck, and we don't have room to put a tower truck, and we don't have any room for training in winter at the current station. So personally, I'd like to see that be a 3, but I'm not going to throw a fit if it goes through with a 2.
We can always make the note then for next year's CIP if this is still something that hasn't been resolved. It's completely up to council. Just let us know.
I think they're good comments.
I would prefer it to be a 3-2, and we can do it now, or we can wait. I would prefer to have it done now.
And I would suggest that just an amendment to the motion to approve it, please.
I'll make that amendment to the motion.
Support from Cousins.
Well, Zach had seconded.
Zach had seconded, so if it's
Yep.
acceptable to Smith, if it's acceptable to Smith from what Zach suggested, I think we're okay with the friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm fine.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Zach, do you have other comments, or we still have the floor?
Nope, I ran through it. Thanks.
Okay, good input. Thanks for proofreading that stuff. We'll get the change to the, get those changes made too for, especially that 3 versus 2 on the Mill Creek Park map one. Okay, is there any other comments on the CIP? Okay, seeing none. Justin, if you could call the vote to approve the capital improvement plan, please.
Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisher,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Mayor Keough.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you
you. Motion carries. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Mike. Thanks to the Planning Commission as well for their work on that. New business item L3 is consideration of a design increase to Grand Street for the scope of work from OHM for an amount not to exceed $23,000.
I'll move that.
Moved by Knight, thank you.
Second by Michelle's.
Second by Michelle's, thank you. Courtney, anything to add here?
No, nothing more than what was in the letter.
Okay. So does council have any other discussion? Seeing none, Justin, please call the vote to approve the design amendment.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
and Keough.
Yes. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing Grand Street start here in this summer sometime. New business item L4 is consideration of items related to a charter amendment proposal.
And I don't think it really needs to be consideration, right, Justin?
Right.
Correct.
It's more of a discussion
All right, discussions.
or an
Thank you.
update. Yeah.
So I don't need to do a motion or accept a motion then, correct?
No, there's no action. Yeah, we
Yeah,
could have
okay.
changed that, but
So since the packet went out, there was some discussion about the language. Can everybody see my screen,
yeah.
or is it just the agenda?
I can just see the agenda.
All right. 1 second.
There it is.
So Mr. Smith had asked some questions about the explanatory caption. Number one being, could it be amended to include defining the types of property that is contained within public property? And in speaking with the city attorney, his recommendation was to leave it at the language that was submitted, to not break it out and say, this is applicable to real property versus personal property, or the types of things that this would impact. So a majority of the language that you're seeing now is essentially the same as what was in the packet. The primary difference is the last sentence, which in rereading through it, the proposed language that was submitted, I recognize that it read as if the change that they were requesting was not to require 2/3 vote of council and a vote of the people at closing, which wouldn't make sense for the lease or renting of property. So rather, the language that they submitted, I think, would be more applicable to have it read as the rental would be, or the lease would be subject to referendum for anything greater than 3 years. So I don't know if anyone had any questions on the proposal language that was contained in the packet, or the proposed explanatory caption with the amendment being provided on the screen here.
Justin, have you had a chance to run this back past Scott?
I have not.
Okay, so
but I will as of tomorrow.
okay, and then from a procedural standpoint,
From a procedural standpoint, the explanatory caption gets sent to the Attorney General's office for their review and approval. They're checking to see that the explanatory caption meets state law. The proposal language gets submitted to the governor's office, and regardless of any issue that the governor may find with it, it gets sent to the ballot for to be printed on the ballot.
And neither of those require council action to do.
Correct. From Scott's reading of the state law.
So we just wanted to give council a chance to see the explanatory caption in case you had any comments, and then Justin will send it off to the Attorney General after reviewing it one more time with Scott.
okay, so once you review it one more time, can you send the final one out to us just in an email so we know what's going?
Sure.
Please. Zach, I think you have your hand up. Is that correct?
Yep. So on page 97 of the packet, want to make sure my understanding is accurate. The explanatory caption was submitted and prepared and was what was circulated by the folks collecting the signatures. Is that correct?
No, the what was submitted and what was circulated was that first part of the memo.
Page 95.
Yeah, with the crossed out words and the capitalized insertions.
Okay.
But the ballot language can't have cross outs and
yep.
capitals. And,
so one thing that I noticed in the caption that differs in a substantial manner from the proposal question is the explanation reads, "and a majority vote of city electors prior to closing." The way that's phrased is different from a majority of those voting. And I think that's an important distinction, because if you have 50% turnout based on the explanatory caption, you wouldn't get the approval because you need more than the 50%. Also want to clarify for folks who are maybe listening to this, that this proposal, if voted into charter, would require 2/3 majority vote and a majority of city electors to sell any city property, including old vehicles, old trucks, and pencils that the city might be disposing of. Is that correct?
That was Scott's reading of it, yes.
And that's mine as well. So I look forward for us having to do vote to dispose of a 15-year-old Chevy van. All right, I'm done. Thanks.
No problem. All right, well, Justin, if you could take those comments into account and work with Scott, and then just let us know what it is you end up submitting on behalf of the community, you know, village in your capacity as clerk, I'd appreciate it.
I will do that.
Well, actually, I had one more question.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Zach. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I thought I was done, but it popped up back into my head. Did the attorney have any comments as to how this might affect easements that the city might grant? because that we're giving away part of the rights, but it's not necessarily lease and it's not necessarily sale, but it has the same function as if it were.
We did not talk about that.
Okay, that might be something useful for us to know, whether or not we're able to grant any sort of easement to anybody under the terms of this proposal.
Okay,
And now I'm really done.
no problem. Thank you. Justin, you got that question?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your work on that.
Welcome.
Any other discussion required before we move on to the final new business item?
Here, does that opinion, is that we're assuming the opinion from the Attorney General or anybody else, the clerk's office or anybody else, that would allow them to vote for the August 4th primary, or does it go to November?
So it's my understanding that it goes to August, and that is the way that I spoke with the city clerk of Ann Arbor, and that's their reading of it as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, Justin, please proceed. Thank you. We'll go down to new business L5, which is discussion of the coronavirus updates. Courtney, I'll turn this over to you.
Yep, so this is just kind of a compilation. A lot of this I've sent to council in emails. Just kind of a summary of sort of the things that we've been up to try to help, or, you know, in response to the governor's initiatives. Probably the most challenging one has been the yard waste, as Sean mentioned earlier. That one is the most difficult, but it is also very common. So, you know, in Allen Park, where my family lives, same thing. Farmington Hills, pretty much everywhere. Certainly anywhere Waste Management is, but even the other companies are not picking up yard waste, kind of saving their staff for recycling and trash. So we have put in extra hours to try to help the residents by doing the extra leaf collection and the brush pickup. But there is a limit to how much we're going to be able to do. So Dan actually spent pretty much all day last Monday taping notes onto trash cans for people that had yard waste bags in case they don't get the email update or see the Facebook or the website. So I know that was not a easy job, but there was probably 140 of them he did on Monday. So I think it did help. I thought I saw less today. I didn't drive all the way around, but I think there were less out today. So as far as resident impact, I think from our perspective, that's probably the thing the residents would notice the most. There were some events that have been canceled or postponed that I wanted just to make everybody aware of. The Memorial Day was kind of a tough one. Steve Feynman was really, I was struggling with that a lot, and that's a tough one to have to miss. And just the projects are on hold, as Dan mentioned. Yeah, I guess if anyone has any questions, you know, we're just kind of doing the best we can to keep things as normal as we can.
I think you're doing a very good job, Courtney. As I mentioned before, I think everybody appreciates the updates, the feedback. I know you get a lot of questions off the cuff stuff, but I think staff is doing a great job with this.
Thanks.
Sean?
Yes, Michelle.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come in late. Just so everyone knows, the Arbor Day celebrations that we normally do with the seedling distribution and spring planting and all of that, that has been canceled, both by Arbor Day and the Washtenaw County Soil Conservation District. So we may end up doing plantings and distributions in the fall, but this year's Arbor Day celebrations have been canceled.
Thank you. Zach, I see a hand for you.
Yep. I guess I'll start with Michelle. It was my understanding a couple of weeks ago you'd done a survey with the business community to see what the city could do to help. Have you got responses back from that?
We got some initial responses. Excuse me just a moment. Tim, be quiet. Sorry about that. Tim's playing poker. The initial survey, it didn't get a lot of responses. Most of them, long-term needs were going to be financial, and they knew that there's not much the city can do as far as that. But there were a couple that identified they needed sanitizing supplies, hand wipes, etc. One of our businesses, it's one of our newer ones and a small one, is working with U of M Hospital, and they are able to produce, and so we connected where we could. Others were, oh, what was the other one? I'm so sorry, drawing a blank right now. Keeping the business list updated, which is what we've done. And one business asked for assistance being able to transition to a more online platform. And so we did connect that business person with the Small Business Development Center. And at this point, I'm not sure if she's actually, I think she's working through that process. But I don't believe it's complete.
Okay.
Okay.
Have there been any businesses or property owners who've asked about changing or doing payment plan for water bills? Do we know?
No.
I take those calls, and so yeah, we're doing those on a case-by-case basis. So mostly we just have extended, as long as they call in, we've extended their due date out a couple of months, and I just set for them to call back. So we're encouraging people to make some sort of payment, just because it's really hard to get too far behind. But yeah, we're not going to apply penalty in those situations.
All right, I'm going to throw some spaghetti out there. A couple of communities where my friends live, things that they've been doing. One of them, the high school sports teams, they get the fancy banners that they'll have the nice pictures and they'll hang it outside when the events are going on. They've actually found a way to hang those in the town, either on the light poles or something similar to that. It'd be interesting to see if we might be able to make that happen. In addition to the teddy bears, there's a couple communities I've seen where if a kid has a birthday party, or birthday, because you can't have parties now, they'll actually have the fire trucks and the police cars drive by and do that type of thing with all the flashing lights, so the kids get some adventure. That'd be interesting to see if we could do something like that too.
I do have a question while we're on the subject of helping the businesses. In our downtown, we did the temporary parking signs for carry-out curbside. Excuse me. We can't really do that for our businesses out on Dexter Ann Arbor Road. They're set back a little bit farther, so people wouldn't see those signs as much. And I am getting questions about some sort of temporary signage for the businesses at Dexter Crossing and across the street at Dexter Plaza. We don't have anything in the ordinance that currently allows it, but we also didn't have anything in the ordinance for the temporary curbside parking signs. Would council, if I'm thinking if the owners of the property, so Oxford, Jonah, get all their residents together or all their tenants together that are open, and maybe they do one big banner sign on each side of Dexter Ann Arbor Road, letting people know which stores are open. That might help those businesses, and have that be allowed to be up for the duration of this this epidemic. And you don't have to give me comment now. Send me email. Let me know what you think.
Okay.
Now, did you want to mention that issue with the schools?
Yeah, actually, Courtney, I'm going to let you cover that because I'm running into my 7 o'clock limit. So I'm going to ask Paul to take over the meeting. So maybe you can cover that email for me, please.
Okay. Michelle, I know that you got that too. You might be better explaining that, but this Jeff Dagg, I don't know, he teaches the schools wanted to do a ribbon tying around a tree project. So we told him to submit something for the April meeting. He just wanted council to like pass a resolution of support of it. And so we told him to submit something for April 27th to kind of let the students follow the process. And basically I think it was like tying something to the trees, right, in front of their houses.
Yeah, a way for the students to participate in the process and understand what leadership does in emergency situations like that.
So that's something council will probably see at the meeting on the next meeting.
And who was that, Courtney, that asked that?
It was Jeff Dagg.
Okay,
He's a teacher.
Yeah, I know Jeff. Thank you. Well, the comment with that was discussed 2 weeks ago with the chamber, doing a variety of different things. One of the things that communities have done is, since nurses theoretically are in white, they were tying white ribbons on, and that was also part of the discussion, as I understand today. And I will get back to you of what that if any other activities were discussed about what they're going to do, or any way that they had a suggestion of helping the businesses out, and I'll find that out and get those to you tomorrow, okay?
Thanks. And Michelle had been talking, I know she was muted at the time, but Michelle had been talking to the chamber about and coordinating with them, on some of these things we've been talking about. So we have stayed in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The screen's blocked out. There's no video.
Excuse me?
No, it was Michelle's husband is overtaking our meeting as a Zoom bombing, I think.
I will mute.
So Paul, I think you're up unless there's any other questions.
All right, anybody else have any other questions about the coronavirus at all? All right, if not, we'll go to the council comments, and I'll start with Bill. Donna?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Jim Smith?
I'm fine.
Julie Knight?
Yes, I just want to thank staff and everyone for all the hard work they put in, and their patience with this whole coronavirus situation. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie.
All right, let's see, I've got Zach?
Yeah, I can't believe that our zoning ordinance doesn't specifically address temporary signs in case of global pandemic. That's
right.
That's horrible.
Maybe
we'll have to remember that
the
when we do
update.
revisions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Have I covered everybody, or who am I missing? I'm missing someone. Maybe not, just myself, I guess, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Student reps.
Who's that?
Student reps.
Student reps? Any student reps there want to make a comment?
I don't have any comments right now.
Thank you. Paul is just once again, thanks to staff for all the work they've done, and everybody stay safe, healthy, and we'll see you either in 2 weeks or in between sometime maybe. Okay. Non-arranged participation. Anybody in the audience out there verbally, virtually want to say something? Make a comment? Hearing none.
Jim McCarter wanted to speak.
Okay, Jim McCarter, please speak.
Thanks, Paul. And thanks, Justin. I don't seem to have the ability to raise a blue hand here tonight. Mine's a little blue, but it's kind of cold in the house. But I'll try to be quick here. You're obviously moving through this pretty quickly. First, just kudos to Dan for the work of his staff under really difficult circumstances. Looks like he may have gone, nope, he just moved on my screen. Dan, 2 thumbs up. Your crew is doing really well, and I'm very grateful for that, as usual. Second, I'm going to speak as oh, I didn't identify myself at the beginning. Jim McCargar, citizen, 3580 Hudson Street, Dexter, Myth 48130. I wanted to speak just as an individual citizen here, citing what I consider to be an example of responsible government on the agenda tonight. I thought the capital improvements plan, that's a great piece of work, a continuing great piece of work. So I noted from the earlier conversation that your assistant planner did a lot of work on that. Very clear formatting. The assignments, priority assignment system is clear. Just one quick comment that's connected to the earlier comment about the new fire hall item. The description on that on page 85 is also out of date. I believe it's potentially out of date because it refers to the new fire hall being considered based on priority city hall location at the current fire department location. So that may have also dated back to that 2011 thing. On the charter update, I had just noticed noted in the packet that the 90-day minimum when the election would be called for the charter update would put it in August. And I'm sure it's not lost on the council that the August election has an extremely low turnout usually. So with something that is potentially the impact that this item has, that's sort of a sobering prospect, but it doesn't seem to me like there's any other possibility there. Last, I guess I would like to thank all of the council people again for what you folks are doing as public servants. I'm very proud of you. I look forward to the August 27th agenda and a more controversial item that's going to be highlighted there, I think. And I look forward to you folks making the kind of wise and well-informed decisions that you have done in the past. That's it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Any other people out there of the members of the community who need to speak that are not arranged? Justin, do we have anybody?
No hands have been raised. I did
All
unmute
right.
the two members of the public who could speak if they wanted to.
All right. Seeing none then, motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
For somewhere?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone, and have a safe couple of weeks, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, Paul.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night.